Whatever the outcome of the Iran war, the regime's leadership has been decimated. And responsible for that is Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence service. Its extraordinary reach inside Iran has seen dozens of senior figures killed, from IRGC generals to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei himself. Its spies have also sabotaged Iran's nuclear program, and a recent report even claimed they almost managed to recruit the former president, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. But Mossad's methods are also controversial. Critics accuse it of crossing multiple legal and moral lines and putting thousands of civilians at risk. So how has Mossad done it? And where should those lines be? I'm Tom. Welcome to The General and the Journalist. Well, while Patrick was away, I had a truly fascinating conversation with a former director of Mossad, Yossi Cohen. He ran the spy agency for 5 years until 2021, having spent most of his life inside it, joining up as a young intelligence officer some 40 years previously. He's also served as Benjamin Netanyahu's national security advisor, and he's just published his memoirs called The Sword of Freedom. Yossi, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. It's very good of you. You're speaking to me from Tel Aviv. Just wonder how often you come to London as Mossad director.
Quite often, actually. I mean, thank you very much for having me today, Tom. As the director of the Mossad, I visited London quite often because the international relationship or bilateral relationship, better saying, that we had in between the UK and Israel had ups and downs on the open political level. When I go to the level of high diplomacy, as I call it, not only as national security advisor at the time, but as director of the Mossad, you see something absolutely different. Working with your wonderful MI5 and MI6, I had always the feeling, very deep one, that we are an absolute partners. Not only that we shared information, but we had been working together.
Yossi, let's get on to some really interesting developments of the last few months. I'm really keen to talk to you today about how extraordinarily successful the Mossad have been during the Iran war that obviously started on February the 28th, when all the big successes really, certainly initially, seem to have come down to Mossad penetration, killing Ayatollah Khamenei on the first day of the war.
Iranian state media has confirmed its supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has been killed in his compound after the US and Israel engaged in large-scale strikes across Iran. State media reported that his daughter, son-in-law and grandchild were also killed.
A lot of other senior leadership figures soon afterwards, even, it was reported, hacking into Tehran's traffic camera system, so you knew pretty much where everyone was all of the time. Obviously, without getting into operational details, how on earth did you manage to penetrate the Iranian regime that deeply?
All right. I mean, with your permission, Tom, we'll take you backwards in history to the 90s. I was very young, much younger than today. And I was an absolute operative at the Mossad already. And then former director of the Mossad, Shabtai Shavit, has decided that the Mossad will, for the first time, design a kind of a intelligence war or intelligence capacities inside Iran. And we've started to understand bit by bit what Iran really is playing for the state of Israel or planning for our country. My professional first personal operation that I had been involved in to manufacture intelligence for the state of Israel from Iran was in 1990 already. That's kind of a long time ago. And since then, Mossad have never abandoned that mission. We'd always been working inside Iran, outside of Iran, with Iranians, among Iranians, to make sure that we get what we need by all different concepts of the smartest intelligence war that we can ever created. And it took a lot of efforts because Iran is a tough country to penetrate.
Well, it's one of the most controlled countries in the world, and also they're
one
pretty
of
good
them.
at cyber
Yeah,
too.
besides North Korea, probably this is the hardest to do. And I've been traveling all over the world. I've been operating, operations with and against North Koreans too. And I know what it takes to penetrate a country or to go into this kind of or behind. I'm sorry, the lines of enemy lines. And it is controlled. So we firstly needed to know what we want to know. So I will do it very simple. We need to know what the enemy is planning for us. So we had to go trying to achieve intelligence on the leadership level. Then we needed to know exactly what they do on the missile, long range missile program. And then, of course, the nuclear military thing. I think as Iran grew, the potential of a devastated war grew at the same time with Iran. As Iran produced better long range missiles and precision guided capacities, as long as they have invested more and more because they became wealthier and wealthier in their nuclear program, we had the feeling, and not only the feeling, practical action that we have to do even more. So bit by bit, the 90s were the time that I believe I remember Syria was an enemy, Lebanon was an enemy, Hezbollah was already there. Some of the countries in the region, even though we had peace treaties with them, we're not sure what we do with. I mean, we didn't have so many peace treaties. We didn't have so many relationships. And the war, Iraq was there. And then, international terrorism was just all over from Latin America to Europe to Southeast Asia. I mean, we had a lot on our plate. But bit by bit, I think Iran grew to be our premier client to the point that in my time, I think that we've invested close to 65, 70% on that, knowing exactly what they know or knowing exactly what they do. So to your question, Tom, uh, we have invested a lot on ourselves, technology, cyber was one you've mentioned. I mean, this traffic lights that we've controlled, and other elements as well. And of course, boots on the ground. We had many of our own people, Mossad operatives, traveling to Iran, getting what we need. And more than that, we had many proxies. So we had to recruit many Iranians and others helping us gathering what we need in order to know and to penetrate and to disrupt. That was the meaning of it, their capacities.
I mean, I think you're saying operations like this don't just take months or years, but decades.
Yeah, exactly that.
The most fascinating reporting of a Mossad operation that was unbelievably audacious was the New York Times and Hayat's reports on Mossad trying to recruit and looking reasonably successful in this, a former Iranian hardline president, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
Yes.
Series of meetings, including in Budapest. I think your successor was reported to have met him in Budapest a couple of years ago, all to culminate in potentially Ahmadinejad taking over from Ayatollah Khamenei and having a bit more benign regime. I mean, the audacity of taking on a hardline man like Ahmadinejad and having worked for you is extraordinary.
I'm not sure that these reports are true. I don't really know. I can deny it or endorse it, but I think that knowing the Mossad's chutzpah, or knowing what we are capable of doing, I would not exclude that, because in the end of the day, in order to have the big change in Iran, you do have to achieve, not only by us, but the regime change. And maybe that was a kind of an approach. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the state of Israel. I mean, the prime minister's office, the Mossad, are kept very silent about that. And so I don't really know. And I don't know, really. I don't know if this operation has happened or not.
Ahmadinejad has denied it.
But I don't know why Ahmadinejad. Ahmadinejad was my target at the time. I mean, we were collecting a lot of intelligence around him because he was a kind of a brutalist. He was kind of a smart, one of the most aggressive guys. By the way, he was replaced by President Rouhani at the time. And Rouhani was like this smiling president. He was charming. Right. Remember, I was seeing him from a distance in UNGA, in the United Nations General Assembly in New York. It was like going anywhere. Everyone was like falling in love with the new Iranian president. And I said, I prefer the other guy, because with the other guy, the threats were very clear. When he said, I will annihilate the state of Israel, you are the little Satan, the big Satan is the USA. That was clear. Rouhani was not clear. So Ahmadinejad, did really he changed his skin, um, or different ambitions that he will work with the Israelis to take Iran to a different direction? I don't know. It sounds a little bit awkward to all of us, but I cannot exclude that from our chutzpah's map.
Well, we'll find out in the course of time, I'm sure. I'm really
Absolutely.
interested in the balance between SIGINT and HUMINT, though,
Hmm.
that Mossad deploys in Iran, and that's
Hmm.
signals intelligence, electronic eavesdropping, cyber versus human intelligence, going up and talking to people, basically. So the modern day would dictate, and a lot of other intelligence agencies around the world obsess about SIGINT and hearing things, because you can penetrate so much these days electronically. You're not a believer in that as necessarily the only way forward, though. You're more of an old-fashioned human kind of guy, if I've read your book correctly.
Yeah, absolutely right. One absolute thing that we have decided, the Mossad, strategically, at the end of probably the 90s, was how much should we invest on SIGINT versus HUMINT? And the good decision was that we would invest in both. Like GCHQ, a body that works very intensively on the SIGINT part in the UK, is doing beautifully. But the fact that I think the MI6, as the Mossad did not abandon the HUMINT, is probably the smartest decision ever. Not like others, by the way. Others thought that HUMINT is crazy, super dangerous.
Old-fashioned.
Not only on function. I mean, why sending people to the battlefield when you can really sit on your laptop and iPads and now create a kind of hacking beautiful systems and get what you need? And eventually, this is not enough. You know what? Sadly, so. Um, if you go all the way fast forwarded to October 7th, we believed SIGINT will solve the problem. And the only thing, and I refer to that in my book as well, and the only one thing we didn't have properly is HUMINT. Someone from these 1,500, look at the quantity, 1,500 terrorists crossing simultaneously to the state of Israel, being supported by how many? 2,000 more? Logistics, communication, training, ammunition, controlling, commanding, all that. No one from these lines told us this is what we do. That's our plan. And this is HUMINT. So, yes, HUMINT is super, super, super important.
I mean, we might get back to Gaza, but I'm sure you also point out that responsibility for intelligence in Gaza was Shin Bet, the Israeli domestic service, RMI5, if you like, while Mossad was overseas. But the classic way for intelligence agencies to recruit assets, agents, there are three ways, aren't there? Money, you pay them. Ideological, you turn them and persuade them, or they have become persuaded that your cause is better than theirs. Or blackmail, honey traps, etc. Which of those three works best in Iran?
Blackmail does not work. You cannot really do that. I mean, it is not part of our psychological effect or something that you can create on someone. Every person has his own personality and character. Our mission is to find it. Our mission is to dig into his soul to the target, because we do not choose the targets accordingly. We know the targets, or we call them the objects in free translation from the Mossad, has to be recruited. I mean, we have to recruit, let's say, the head of the precision guided missiles in Karaj. We have to recruit this kind of scientific, whatever. And so you don't choose them. But then you have to find out the must that you can, or as must as you can, about their character before being engaging with them. And our mission is to exactly find his personality, his characters. Who is he or she? What does he like? What bothers him? How loyal is he to his family, tribe, nation, international ambitions? As yours, John Le Carre, often said, a good spy needs to hate someone and to love someone. So you should make them love you and trust you. And this is not a very, very easy job. By the way, I received from John le Carré, his last book with his own dedication just before he unfortunately passed away. But he referred to HUMINT the way he knew the best, and this is exactly what HUMINT is about. So it's not about blackmailing. It's not about threatening. Not that it does not exist, but the best thing to recruit someone is eventually to be his or hers best friend. And this kind of a mutual trust, because you know everything about them, they know nothing about you.
I'd love to broaden our discussion to sort of wider Mossad operations historically, if you like, because I think what stands out about Mossad for many outside of Israel, perhaps in Israel too, is your ruthlessness. You're basically prepared to go further than most other intelligence agencies around the world to achieve your successes. I mean, one example, recent example again, is the exploding pages sold to Hezbollah a couple of years back. Extraordinary operation that captivated the world's attention. I mean, it killed and wounded hundreds of Hezbollah operatives, some civilians. We might get to that, but the concept of manipulated equipment, this method, I believe you devised that 20 or so years ago.
Correct. And this is exactly the thing that you or we have to remember when we discuss technology versus HUMINT, or the best that we did at the beginning of the 2000s. I was the director of the subdivision that had created this concept of combining HUMINT into technology. And yes, we have invented a kind of a new concept that says they're buying so much and everything is about technology. If you remember what we've just discussed, I said leadership. Leadership is not about technology, but is leadership buying something from the world that we can be part of? Or if we say missiles, do they need some parts that they do not have in Iran or in Hezbollah that we can sell them, or in the nukes? And it goes all the way down to the fact that the minute that we have decided, and yes, how do they say? Who dares wins?
Who dares wins? That's the SAS's motto.
Exactly. It's ours too, in a way, and we dare. We are risking our lives going all the way down to Lebanon and to Iraq and to Syria at the time and to other countries and to Iran, of course, because we don't have a choice. You know, there is only one Jewish state in the world and we have to keep it safe. And since we have so many enemies around us, we have to dare more, I believe, than the others. I don't think that the UK will never be under an existential threat like the state of Israel had been in the past, or potentially would be if Iran, God forbid, will have nuclear capabilities. So we had to study their supply chain, simply saying. And we got to the point that not only theirs, but other countries, nations, and terror organizations too, when they have ordered something, they have ordered what they need from Mossad undercover companies. And that was a thing that we have prepared for longer than 20, close to 25 years already, longer than 20 years, for sure.
But look, the Exploding Pages operation was incredibly successful. You took out a lot of Hezbollah operatives. But the Lebanese government claimed it injured 4,000 people in total, a lot of them civilians. They also claimed that 2 children were killed. I think it's probably undeniable there was collateral damage there. Civilians were hurt during the operation.
I'm not aware of that, and I know for sure that every single one that had carried these pagers was a terrorist. If there was a collateral damage, I'm not aware of that. But
let me put it another way. Let me put the question another way. If there was
Please.
collateral damage, if wives and children were killed standing next door to their Hezbollah husbands, would that bother you?
No, it's wrong. I mean, we don't have to do that. If that's the case, we never intentionally killed anyone that was not involved in the right circle. But unfortunately, if this has happened, that was not the Israeli intention for sure.
Okay. The other operation, going back through history, which I think everybody knows about, is Munich. The response led by Mossad to the Palestinian terrorists, killing 2 Israeli athletes in the Olympic Village in Munich in 1972, taking a further 9 hostage, and all 9 were later killed as well. Operation Wrath of God was set up to then track down, find, and kill every single one of those Palestine terrorists. That ethos that Israel, via Mossad, will always hunt down and kill and punish your enemies. How important is that to Israel's ethos?
Absolutely, it is important. First, I mean, we do it not because we like it, because we have to. And Mossad's operational thesis would never go to the revenge department. I think this kind of operation create a very important ethos. Not only that we dare, not only that we will do everything that it takes to protect our country from terrorism and existential future potential threats, is that I want everyone to know that we are doing it. I want them to know that every motorcycle that runs on Tehran streets may be ours. And that was the feeling. People have left their positions in defense organizations in Tehran because we told them, we know you. We've sent them flowers to their houses and to their families saying, hello, okay, we know that you work for the nukes and you may be next. So better for you to leave what you're doing right now. And partially they've left. So ethos is important, but it is not because of the revenge part of it, but it is because of what we need to do in order to prevent the bad guys from harming not only the state of Israel and the Jewish communities around the world, but British too.
Well, I'm really interested you bring that up. And of course, you have relationships with Western intelligence agencies. I've also been told, Yossi, that our agencies, someone in MI6 actually a year or two back told me that they're also a little wary of Mossad. Sometimes they think you cross the line. Sometimes they think the collateral damage flips into the immoral in their eyes, and they're a little wary of you. And therefore, it's only really the CIA, the American intelligence agency, that you have a very strong relationship where both sides fully trust each other. Is that right?
Mm. Well, you know, most of what we do alone. I mean, Mossad. And we have our own super high moral system. It is not that the hand is very easy on the triggers. It is not that we go like doing everything that we want. No, we have uh, inner circle discussions about what the target is, what do we gain from that target, does it deserve to do this kind of operation, and often we say no, this is not true. This is not true morally. But if you do see differences between the organizations, according to the people that have discussed it with you, you are absolutely right. I mean, but it goes all the way back, Tom, with your permission, I mean, to the first question. Do we have to do that? Yes, we do.
Mm.
Will someone else do it for us? No.
Yossi, let's talk a little bit now about what it's actually like to be in Mossad. First, the recruitment process is notoriously difficult. What do you have to do to get in?
Oh, what do you have to do? Do you have to volunteer, or you have to be appointed by, or being recruited by? I've been recruited by. I did not volunteer. Of course, I did. But the minute they said we are, and I said, yeah. I would love to try. So, in order to be a Mossad operative, I think is a kind of a thing that goes all the way back to who you are, and are you willing to risk everything you have, not everything you have, but your life and freedom, for the sake of the state of Israel. If the answer is yes, and mine was a straight yes, then they have to see if you fit the job. And to be an operative with the Mossad, you go through a lot of exams and tests. It's not only your proper IQ, but it is about your character and personality. Could you be part of the family of cover stories? Could you be part of different characters? Could you be a player? Could you be an actor? Are you a team player? Can you work in a team? Can you work undercover under stress? Can you be arrested, being butchered, and not letting anyone knowing who you are and what your secrets are? And then can you recruit people? Can you convince? Are you convincing enough? So you see, there's a lot of training afterwards. I mean, they were like almost a year of exams and practical exam and operational exam that you're not really prepared for. And then you had to go, I did 2.5 years of the spy academy. We never called them spy academy, but
And a lot of it seems to be psychological and not necessarily glamorous or exciting. It can be incredibly grueling, very lonely, very isolating, and requires intense psychological endurance at times.
Right. Yeah. But people often think that being a Mossad operative is like motorcycles, leather jackets, and beautiful team around you. The beautiful team around you is the case. Motorcycles and leather jackets are there. But it's not only that. It is a lot of great time, a lot of loneliness, a lot of time that I spend without my family and friends, being disconnected. I mean, for months abroad, like 2 months, 3 months without being connected to anyone. So you're losing part of your normal life dedicated to that job of ours. Uh, Nevertheless, there's no way that I have could ever considered a different job. I really loved it. I was like in a given time I said I'm addict to it because the fear, the heartbeat that goes every time higher when you cross a pass control with your fake identity, and when you go into operations and you know that there's no one there to help you. We don't have F-35s or helicopters coming to save us if, God forbid, something goes wrong. I love it. I like it. And you're helping either your country, your people, um, and 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 often the world. I mean, we're not doing things only for the sake of the state of Israel, i.e., the wonderful cooperation that we had on Daesh, on ISIS, with your MI5, MI6 at the time.
Yossi, let's talk a little bit about the future before you have to go. The region now, the Iran war now, for all Mossad's intelligence successes, you didn't achieve regime change. Why didn't that happen? And what should happen next? What should Netanyahu and Donald Trump do now?
Right. Okay. I always believed that the regime change will never happen because of us. Never. I was busy in a very small quantity of operations. I've been trying to find these that are willing to change the regime from within the Iranian society. Till today, I strongly believe it is not about us. It is only about the Iranians themselves. You have to see 30 million Iranians on the street for the regime to be changed. And the quantity of people in Iran itself, I do not blame them. It's super difficult to be on the streets and to demonstrate against these terrorists inside their own country. The numbers are not significant, and in fact, after the war, they're not even there. We had the demonstrations prior to that war, but we didn't have it during that war or after that war, which is surprising. But again, I don't blame them. So the regime change will happen not because of us. The regime change will happen because of them. I think that the war could support that direction. I think that the war that has happened when we took away their leadership, when we took away their, let's say, the besiege principles and the Moise, their intelligence principles and some of the army, maybe that could have been a kickstart to their local ambitions.
You said this thing doesn't end until the regime changes. So the war should continue until it does. Is that your argument?
I think that the war is not over. Definitely for the state of Israel, the war is not over. As long as Iran is there, and as long as the absolute declaration goes, it is not about negotiations with the USA. This is something that I know from the past. I was the prime negotiator for the JCPOA at the time. The nations are talking to Iran. We do not directly, not indirectly. We don't do that. But I think that for the state of Israel, as long as Iran declares openly the annihilation of the state of Israel, the war for us is not over. So I would never guarantee that Mossad or Israel will not operate against Iran if we have to.
Our new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has criticised his predecessor, Keir Starmer, for being too tolerant of Israel's prosecution of the Gaza war. He apologised for the British Labour Party leadership for not doing more. He said, we've got to do more to put pressure on the Israeli government. I'm interested in your take on that. Is it right for Britain to be more publicly tougher on Israel, and what would be the consequences?
Absolutely not. I think that the UK has to be super supportive to the state of Israel, as we had been to you when you had suffered terrorism on your lands. Can I quote your former MI5 director who said, Yossi, you deserve the Oscar? You have disrupted a huge quantity of terror activity inside the UK. Thank you very much for doing it. I think that the UK should do exactly the same. Criticism is okay, but being opposing what we're doing is not okay. The state of Israel have never initiated this war in Gaza. The terrorists did. Hamas and Islamic Jihad, Palestinian Islamic Jihad did. We had been countered that for many years, not only inside Gaza, but internationally. The UK government should understand that we do read what they do, and you do have a huge local problem in the UK today. It is not safe, okay, to walk on London streets or in Manchester if you're Jewish or not. And you do have that problem. So I do understand politics. This is eventually super poor politics that is not, I think, respecting eventually what the state of Israel is actually doing, not only for us, but for the UK citizens too.
Yossi, final question. You've flirted a little bit over the last year or so with running for Prime Minister yourself. You haven't put yourself forward for this October's elections, but maybe you might in the future. I'm wondering one day, could it be Prime Minister Yossi Cohen meeting with Prime Minister Andy Burnham?
It's an option.
And that's the least you've had to say to any of my questions.
Yeah, I know. You know, the only important thing that we have, or things that we have in our lives, in my life, is my family and my country. I served Israel for consecutive 42 years. From the age of 18, I went to the army, I volunteered, and I've been a combat soldier in Lebanon and so forth. And then for about 38 years at the Mossad. I love my country, and I will always serve it. I got to the point that in these elections today, I would not participate because I think it is close to impossible to gain something significant to the directions that I need. But as we say never, and maybe sometime in the future, I would change my mind.
Well, thank you for expounding on the answer. And Yossi, thanks so much for your time today. You've been really, really generous with it. And it's been a really, really interesting conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you very much, Tom. All the best.
Well, that is it for this week. Next week, we're going to look at how Russia's war in Ukraine is fueling an extraordinary economic boom in North Korea, of all places, and making its dictator, Kim Jong-un, richer, stronger, and more dangerous. In the meantime, if you have any questions for us or just comments you want to make, send us an email. Our address, generalandjournalist@thetimes.co.uk. That's generalandjournalist@thetimes.co.uk. They are all hugely valuable. Do also please follow, rate, review, or comment wherever you're listening to this podcast, because it helps more people discover us. Until next week, bye.